Boom. We are live. Welcome, welcome, one and all, to the MIRTH Web Show. My name is David Batterina, and for the next hour, I will be your host through the mayhem and insanity of exploring all things creativity. This show exists to help you, the creator, connect with fans, friends, and peers by showcasing not just your work, but your brain, your creative process, and your personality. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. We stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Over the next hour, expect some deep conversation, some lighthearted fun, some badassery, and prying open the creative brain of my very special guest, Mr. Nick Horvath. Nick, how are you tonight?
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me on.
I'm thrilled that you're here. I'm thrilled we're together and we get to chat about all this fun stuff. And man, creator of Sledge. And I told you I had a surprise for you. I was inspired today, and I just felt like it was a lot of work. Like, I won't lie, man, it was a lot of work.
So dude.
But I'm like, I'm gonna give everybody a quick peek at what we got going on later. The brawl of the badasses. And deliberately hid every single one on here because I just want it all to be a surprise. But we're going to get you running through a bracket. I figured get a little bit of the hoop influence into it too. And just kind of have some fun with it. But first, I'd like to get through some this or that with you. And this is something I do on every stream, and just like kind of a quick like minute or so, get to know you on some just basic questions and stuff like that. So let's see, who is Nick? First, before I start any kind of a timer or anything, I'm going to ask you the question that I ask everybody, and everybody lets me down, and it's okay. It's just, this is where I am, which is, if you had to travel in either a homemade hot air balloon high above or a janky submarine deep below, which one would you choose?
Tough one.
It is a tough one.
Sledge hates both things because he's very aware of what can kill him. And a fall from a great height or crushing underwater, I'd probably go from the hot air balloon, just because I think if I had to go out anyway, leaping from a high height and just kamikazing head first into the ground would be more thrilling than just being crushed in the darkness underwater.
You know what? I'm not even mad about it. I think that's a great answer that's a very Sledge answer, to be honest. Embrace it. It's over. Here we go. No, I got it. Tim is here. Tim, greetings. Shane, greetings.
What up, legends?
Welcome, folks. So let's get through some other ones, just some random stuff. There's a couple that I'm just dying to ask you. Jeremy, my brother from another mother, right here. So really, poor David. I know. I got like 3 people on Team Janky Submarine. It's okay. It's all right. Well, I'm losing big time on this one. I can't convince people. It's all right though. All right, so here we go. Let's just get through about a minute or so of some of these, and just answer them quick. Let me know what you're thinking. First one, I like to ask: polka or death metal?
Death metal all day, every day.
Obvious.
I like to think of Sledge as death metal, right? Over the top violence and sort of tongue-in-cheek badassery, where it's very well aware of what it's doing.
Right. How about a haunted house or an enchanted forest?
Haunted house. I actually turn my house into a haunted house every Halloween and just scare the ever-loving shit out of the kids of the neighborhood.
Perfect.
So
would you go for owning a castle or owning a tank?
Ooh, tank. Sledge is a tank, so it would just be fun to just, not have to stop on your way to work. Just drive straight.
That is true. Yep. Yeah, you're not collecting a toll from me. Zombie apocalypse or robot overlords?
Zombie apocalypse.
Super fun.
I think every man has a dream of just sort of living in their cabin, protecting their own from the zombie horde,
I have a cricket bat in my closet for that very reason, man. I'm just like, someday it's going to happen, just like Shaun of the Dead.
I have a baseball bat next to my bed, and even better, I keep it up my sleeve while I go for walks within the show, just in case.
Go figure. Let's see. Let's go with dinosaurs or dragons?
Dinosaurs, man.
Dinosaurs. All right. Time loop or parallel universe?
Ooh. I love me a good time loop. I used to have a recurring dream where I was in a time loop during a basketball game, so I could replay the same game over again and over again until I got played the perfect game.
You finished with 900 rebounds. Let's go super strength or super genius.
Super strength,
Super
100%.
strength. I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
This one I'm not so sure about, and I've been dying to ask you: Christina or Brittany?
Ooh, Brittany.
Brittany, yeah,
Brittany
no,
was my girl when I was in high school. I used to go home every day after school, and then she would be in the top 10 of the MTV uh, countdown. Had to watch Brittany.
there you go. And one more: pineapple pizza or no pizza at all?
Oh, I'm a fan of pineapple pizza, especially you put a little chili flakes on there, the sweet and the hot.
And the hot, yeah.
Don't knock it till you try it.
You know, some people just they say that fruit on pizza makes them sad. I tend to disagree. I'm just saying. Beard of Darkness, welcome, sir.
Hey,
Philip,
what up?
glad you're here. Peter, welcome, welcome,
Oh,
welcome.
that's my guy, Peter Mills. We'll talk about him later.
It's good.
He's the
Brittany,
inspiration behind the
Brittany is
lip
the only correct answer.
in the lab of the labyrinth.
That's right. So I want to get through. There's a bunch I want to cover with you, certainly, and but the first thing I want to do is just give you the floor for 30 seconds, and just let everybody know, just who you are, where to find your stuff, whatever you want to talk about. 30 seconds. Floor is yours, man. Go for it. This is your pitch.
Uh, Nick Horvath, the creator of Sledge, man, get amongst. If you're into retro 80s action badassery, you know where to go. I was a longtime basketball player and physics teacher turned badass author. So if any of those things interest you, please get amongst.
Love it. Excellent. Man, you only took 15 seconds. That was perfect. Look at that. Didn't even need to call timeout. No, it's all good. So I definitely want to dig into there's a bunch that I want to dig into with you, and I just want to kind of see where our conversation goes. And then certainly later on, we're going to go ahead and do the brawl of the badasses. Because honestly, I think that's going to be very telling for where you stand on a lot of things. So we're going to have a great time with it. Tonight, those of you in the chat, feel free to post up questions. I love it when you guys are involved. It's great. Here for the physics. Shane, me too. Yep, for sure. So first thing I want to ask you, Nick, is obviously you've seen this show. You know that my focus is on the creative process, and something that I'm really eager to dig into. The first question I have for you is, when I say the phrase creative process, what pops into your head?
I am a big ritual guy, so I am very big on, I think it probably came from when I was an athlete, but for me to get into the mindset of creativity is very much the same getting into the mindset of having to go perform in a basketball game in front of an audience, so I have a whole bunch of writing rituals that I use to get me into that creative zone. So that's definitely what I think, and I cultivate my writing setup and my writing rituals to ease my descent into that mindset for being able to write.
What's a good example of a writing ritual for you? Give me something.
Well, I always have my coffee in my Yeti. Giving him with my buddy Mickey. This thing's never beyond my,
Nice.
never not by my side. I have two different playlists that I'm always listening to. I have Sledge versus Metal, which is like a death metal, uh, extremely brutal playlist that for action scenes, and then I have a playlist that I make for the vibe of the book that I'm working on. So I had a Sledge versus the Labyrinth playlist. Now I have a Sledge versus the Wendigo playlist, which is
Oh, nice.
a lot of John Carpenter. So it's a lot of Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from New York,
Love it.
They Live, all this kind of stuff. I can't have any lyrics unless it's growling death metal because I get distracted by the words.
I do too. Yeah.
Other than that, as far as location, I'm either in here in my writing cave amongst all my books. So I have all my I have a set of books that are my direct influences for the current I'm writing that are always next to me. But my new thing that I do is I like to write and work out in my garage, sort of
Hmm.
workout and weight room um, at the same time. So, like the physical act of working out seems to get me into that battle mode of sledge riding
Oh,
really well.
shoot. I
So
love
now
it.
writing and working out are sort of intertwined.
So how does that work? Like, is it just like punch a bag, lift something heavy, put down a couple words? Like, how does like explain that to me? Because
Exactly
I'm
that.
curious.
So I have a very my workout routine has become very streamlined in the fact that it's only really 3 supersets that I do of various things. And so I mean I could get it done in 10 minutes if I was really just doing that.
Right.
So I might get the first set in, get the blood flowing, go right for a while. That kind of get stuck on a chapter, get stuck on some wording, go back, get another set in, get the juices flowing, keep the death metal rocking, and I just sort of take my like it's mainly writing with a little bit of working out thrown in there. But it's just the vibe of the layer. You know, I got all my tools and it's grimy in there. It's concrete floor. Got my squat rack and my chin up bar. It just really gets me into the sledge zone.
It gets you down into the pit, man. I like it. Yeah, that's epic. That there is actually there is something to be said for that. The endorphins get the creativity going, um,
100%.
and all that for sure. He's asking. I'm not asking, but he's asking. He's asking.
But that's like 6'5", so he's always said I'm one of the few guys that he's got to look up to. I'm 6'10". I probably shrunk a little. I might be more 6'9" now. I have a couple compressed discs in my back from too many deadlifts and rebounds.
Yeah. He's tall enough to walk with a baseball bat up his sleeve. That's pretty much all we need to know. Yeah, that's good. All right. So for you, it's that it's really getting into the mindset and in a ritualistic way to get your words down and everything like that.
Mhm.
Um, do you tend to have like a lead up? Do you do like a little bit of read like the prior thing, a little bit of editing or anything like that, or do you just kind of jump in next part of the story and go?
I have next to me at all times, like I said, a series of books, and my sort of reading ritual to get me into the flow of the words before I read what I wrote, like the previous day or whatever, is I read one chapter from a Robert B. Parker Spencer book. So there's like 45 of them, and I'm just going through
Hmm,
them at all times. Once I finish one, I go to the next in the series. Once I get to the last one he wrote, I restart. So
right.
I'm just constantly going through those, and they just he has the short, snappy chapters and the really sort of clean dialogue that I like to write in Sledge, and sort of the witty repartee. So his
Yep.
style of writing is just my main influence, and just in terms of my prose, you know,
Yep.
he can sort of tell more in like a grunt and a shrug than what most writers can get through in 10 pages of just flowery description. So that sort of just gets my brain into writing mode. And then
Yep.
I just seamlessly go into my chapter, reread up to where I'm at and go from there.
Right. I mentioned to you before, I snagged it. I'm about a chapter and a half or so in, and that is clear as day. Your writing is very concise, and I really appreciate that because it's descriptive. You're hitting on the senses and all the things. I love it. I love reading like that. It's something that I definitely try to do in my own, which is what's the sound of this, the feeling of this, the the weight of something, all of those different things that you just kind of roll in, and you just sort of get to the point without, I don't know, four paragraphs of flowery whatever. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not necessarily my vibe, and certainly would be kind of weird with Sledge.
It's
Uh,
the opposite of my vibe, but that is like it seems so simple, but it's actually so hard to get right because you have
yep.
to get the if you do it right, if you get the one or two correct descriptive words, the whole rest of the scene is painted into the mind of the reader. But to do that correctly is so difficult. I always go back to the first Harry Potter book. This is
Hmm.
it's just I constantly refer to it because in my mind, I'd read all the books and I just remember the opening scene where Harry sees Hogwarts for the first time. He's in the
Right.
boat, Hagrid driving, and then suddenly this expansive castle, and he sees all this detail. And in my head, I just remembered, I was like, that must be pages of description.
Right.
You go back to it, and and there upon the cliffs was a vast castle with many turrets and towers. So she used vast and then turrets and towers. That was it.
Yeah,
And those three words painted all of it in my head.
absolutely.
So she just nailed it with the three correct words, and the rest just fell out. So I try to do that in every scene. So what's the one sentence I can say and everyone just knows what this place is?
Right.
Or
You
at
know what?
least
I like that only because there is something to be said in some of my favorite movies, some of my favorite pieces of writing or anything else are the ones that let my imagination roam. You know, give me a little bit of a structure and then let me just worry about the worst. I always go back to like my main influences of Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft.
mm,
And Lovecraft in particular, it's you're fearing what you can't see and he's
doesn't
not
show
really
you
describing.
anything. I know a lot of people when they read Lovecraft for the first time, they're expecting like this Cthulhu monster described.
No.
You don't get any of it. So all of that Lovecraft mythos, almost none of it is in the books. It's
Yep.
all just in people's minds. It's been, yeah, from the vibe of the reading. That's so cool to me.
Yep. Yep. And
Yeah.
that is really like it's because there's if you think about it, whatever you can certainly impart some scene into a reader, right? But if you think about it this way, whatever is in that reader's head that you don't know of, they can imagine something scary enough to fill in the blanks. That's going to hit, that's going to resonate with them.
Always worse. It's always scarier in your head.
Yep.
So
Yep.
the classic story is Jaws. Why that movie was so scary was because the shark broke, right? So they had to film the whole first half of the movie with no shark. It's way scarier
Yes, it
uh,
is.
before you see the monster. The one I always think about is Jeepers Creepers. I loved the beginning of that movie. It was so scary, and then halfway through, you see the monster. All the fear goes away. Oh,
Right.
and Michael Myers is another one. The reason he's so scary is because he's blank face. It's just a William
Yep.
Shatner mask. It's scarier than
I know,
any
right?
because it's nothing. You put your own fear there.
Yeah,
And
and the
whole
relentless.
story, right? You don't want to go too far explaining everything. You want to keep it like, oh, so the
Yeah.
reader has to fill it all in, and
Yep.
it's all just like people's reaction to Sledge. Suddenly you fill in all the backstory yourself, and it's always more badass than anything I could write.
I love it, man. Yeah, absolutely. The sheer number of times Lovecraft and his fellows use the phrase indescribable horror.
Yeah.
It's because he couldn't come up with what it was.
Leave
Yeah,
it in
it's fine. I forget the title of it. One of my favorite stories of his, there was this guy that was descending into this like tomb and he was on like a radio with a guy that was up above and he's just like describing what he's seeing and everything else, but there was just this cloud over it all. Like you knew that this dude was not coming back out of the tomb.
the mountains.
And
Of
it,
that one, I think.
no, I forget. It was like a little bit more obscure and more of a shorter story. I'd have to look it up. I got all the anthologies and all that stuff over
I've
there.
read every single one. It rings a bell. I can't believe I can't remember.
Yeah, and then at the very end of it, it was this voice came onto the thing, and he's like, "You fool! Like, you like your friend is dead." And it's just like that was it. And I'm like, "Oh crap!" Like it was epic. Like there was no monster. Like how cool. So hello, Molly. Molly hanging out with us tonight as well. Appreciate it. Appreciate you
Horror
guys.
author.
I think he bounced by now, but subbed. I gotta go. Look up to Nick and David. You're amongst those who fear the beard.
Yeah, man.
It's very scary. And okay, so Peter's saying deadlifts and rebounds. Maybe a
Sledge versus was the deadlift.
It's good. So what about a time of day for you? So I know you're ritualistic about your writing, how you get into the headspace, the music, everything else. But is there a particular time of day where you feel like the creative juices, like the moon, the planets are aligned, and you're like good to go?
I like writing either early in the morning or late at night, and I actually prefer the morning. I fast, and for whatever reason, I feel like before I eat, if I'm just like on running on black coffee and endorphins, my brain just seems sharper.
Hmm.
But I like writing also when everyone else is asleep. I
Yes.
close myself in the cave, put on my music, and sort of get in there too. But if I had to choose, if I, uh, once Sledge is selling 1 million copies a year and writing's my full time gig, I'd say my writing time will be in the morning.
Yep. Yeah. I'm a morning writer as well. I love it.
To get the workout in, get your body. You feel like you've put in your work. I look at it just like my workout when I was an athlete. Like if I can get my time in the gym in, I feel like I've earned my rest of my day.
Right. What about just speaking to that, just on the athletic part of it and the discipline involved in training and practice and timing and like all of these different things. Um, I imagine that's had a big influence on how you put yourself together in terms of writing a story.
Oh, huge. Just the fact that I look at a book, finishing a book in the same way I look at a basketball season. The end goal is winning the championship or finishing the book, but it doesn't happen in a day. It can't happen in a day. So
Mm,
all that you can control is trying to get a little bit better every day. And that's all it is. I had a
mm,
great basketball coach, Brian Gorgian, who was the national team coach of the Australian national team, and we went from the bottom of the table uh, 1 year to the championship in the next year just from getting him in as our coach. And that was all he did. He just instilled in us that we come in here every day and we put in our work and we just get that little bit better by the end of this practice, by the end of this writing session than we were the day before. And then you just leave it there. And when you
mm.
get into that routine, the results just seem to come. If you're putting all that pressure of got to get this number of words, got to finish this chapter, got all that, it's actually going to prevent you from getting where you want
It's
to go.
counterproductive.
It is.
Yeah, that's interesting. So so you started out you played college ball and then to Australia, New Zealand, and you're bouncing around and you're playing there. When did the writing start, or like at what point did these two things start to happen at the same time? Or
I've always been writing, but I
Mhm.
just had it's this belief. I'm a big on the power of the mind, especially when it comes to self-belief. Like, whether you believe you can or believe you can't,
You're
you're
right.
right. And I just, for whatever reason, in my mind, I was a professional athlete. I wasn't a writer. I wanted to be a writer, but I just had this deep-seated belief that I wasn't. And
Hmm.
so it wasn't until I basically defeated that belief and started saying, "Well, maybe I can do this," and just sat my ass in the chair and just got it done. And that wasn't actually I didn't finish my first novel till after I retired from basketball. And I just don't think I would have been able to. The amount of mental and physical focus and just
Yeah.
energy that it took um, being an athlete. I just didn't have the time. It's the same exact amount of mental and physical energy that it takes to be an author. More physical energy, but just as much mental. Really, just
Mm.
so I really didn't get into that until I retired from playing.
Do you do you have a ball player that was a particular inspiration? Some of your favorites for any reason?
Tons, yeah. My favorite all-time player is probably Bill Lane Beer.
Oh,
He was a
nice.
6 foot. He was like the Sledge of the NBA,
Dude
right?
was a monster.
And he couldn't jump. That's why I loved him. So I learned so much. It sounds funny, but I became a my I I reached my physical potential as a basketball player when I admitted to myself that I am not a good athlete. I can't slow. So I just was like, well, I have to embrace what I can do. So I can
Yeah.
just be a physical mean motherfucker out there. And so once I started just embracing that and became sort of the lame beer of the Australian and New Zealand league, that's when I really started to flourish and really came into my own as a basketball player. Became sort of you know, played my best basketball, MVPs of the league, rebounding titles, was all sort of late in the piece once I admitted to myself that I'm not a good athlete.
It's really interesting you say that, because there was I threw up a quick Substack post earlier, and this was something that was on my mind, because I spent this period of time when I started writing wanting to have the career, the method, and the path of a fellow writer that's a friend of mine. It was very, very like too successful, right? Shows on Netflix and all that kind of stuff. And I used to hang out from time to time. I haven't seen him in a little while. I'd go over to his house. We'd just chill. We'd talk writing. We'd eat bacon and just like have a good time. And I realized that it sucked when I was trying to copy him and be something else. And it was only until I started to be like, you know what, that's just not the writer that I am. Where you just start to find your groove and you understand that you have a different path. It doesn't mean it's bad or worse. It's just yours. There's something to be said for that.
You got to embrace what you are. I find that all the time in writing, where, you'll go on to Twitter or whatever, and someone will be like, I wrote 10,000 words today, or I published 7 books this year or whatever. And you start thinking like, oh, it starts making you feel shitty. And then you're like, that's not who I am.
Right.
And so I have to be, I constantly remind myself the same story. Like, no, I was never going to be a leaping, shot blocking dunk machine. I had to embrace what I was. So I do the same exact thing for my writing. And it's a constant reminder, right? I am the brute. Just go in there into the weight room, into the pit, smash out some words, right? Just make it violent. Let's go.
This is why I wanted to talk to you so badly, because I am not the brute. I'm the guy who tells dick jokes in space. And I just think it's fantastic. But for the two of us to be sitting here, we've embraced who we are. We are our writers, and like that's just really epic. It's creative, it's original. I love everything about it.
That's exactly it. You got to be you. The only person I ever can be is me, and that's who I want to be. I don't want to read anything else. I want to read what I write.
Yep, exactly. Absolutely, 100%, man. So are you a plotter? Are you a pantser? How do you go about putting together a story? Are you a dutiful outliner? Like, what's it look like when you're forming the idea and getting it going?
I'm both.
Philip, you I can't believe you said that. It's really something.
Um,
That's
I'm
great.
a bit of both. So, like, I need to know, I need a backbone to
Mhm.
know where I'm going, but try, I can't go in full pants like I don't know anything and I'm going
Right.
in full noise. But I actually, you're probably about to get to it early on in Sledge. I stole it directly from Harlan Coben, where he says he writes himself into a corner on purpose. So he'll write sort of
Oh,
80% of his novels uh, in the first couple months, just by throwing random, you know, hints and clues and characters and events
oh, jeez.
all over. Has no idea what any of it means, and then he spends the next 6 months piecing it all together. And his reason for it is, well, if I, the writer, don't know who done it, then the reader can't either.
Sure as
So
shit won't know. Yeah.
out with the labyrinth. But I had a backbone, and I can thank Peter Mills in the chat for this. There's these sort of dark web sites that he'd uncovered. Peter Mills is a real life badass investigator, um, and some of these dark websites were these sort of hurt for hire uh, rankings. You could spend certain amount of money to like,
Mm,
have all these horrible things carried out on people. I think they ended up being scams, but
right.
that was where the seed was. And so once I had that list early on in the piece, I was like, okay, let's just make the list because I had to go at the end of the first chapter. So I had from death threat to beating. And once
Mhm.
I had
Yep.
that all the way up, and then I was like, oh, and then a new killer will be on another level. That just gave me the backbone of the whole story. I just knew what was coming next. Oh, a kidnapping's got to happen next,
Right, right, right.
and one after the other. So I've done the same thing with my next book, The Wendigo, where I have the levels. I'm a big like I love sort of the lit RPG progression of
Yep.
Sledge. And he's in a real life video game in all the books, battling his way up levels. He's got to upgrade his armors and his weapons. So I have the levels for the next book too. But in terms of um, the super detailed plot where I know every scene all the way, I don't have that.
So, do you know the ending before you begin?
It just hit me. So I don't know the ending. Like I know in every book I want there to be a mystery. Who is the big bad?
Yep.
Uh, and I just, I'm halfway through, just figured out
Mm.
who it could be. And so because I didn't know all the way up to this stage, the reader can't either. So it should be good.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I had a similar for my debut novel, where I had the idea of how I wanted it to end. I just didn't know who the antagonist was at that point. But like I knew where I was going with it, and that ends up working itself out, like for sure. Um, yeah, see, there you go, Jeremy. There are levels to everything. Nick has embraced this brilliantly. That's epic stuff. So give me a time in your life where maybe you had a knock on your confidence, either as an athlete or as a writer or anything else, where it felt a little bit like a struggle to get those things out there. You touched on a little bit with basketball trying to be somebody else, and you had to accept that it was not that. Have you had something similar just in the writing journey?
100%. I had it right. I mean, it was weird because it happened right after the great success of Sledge coming out
Mm,
and um, all these great reviews coming in, and everything was just flowing, and it was just like the release and all the feedback and the hype was just so far beyond anything that I expected. And then suddenly with that came all this expectation
yeah.
that I just didn't know was gonna hit me. Like,
Mm,
boom! Now you got to do it again, and now people are waiting and they're asking when it's going to come out,
yep.
and how far are you? What's it going? You know? And then I had in my brain sort of gone, oh, it'd be meant if I came out with one every year, and so it was all put on by my own brain,
Yep.
all this expectation, pressure, and it just completely crushed my creative process for a while. I also, at the same time, had a really severe back injury. So I was
Mm,
literally on my back in severe pain for like 4 or 5 months. So
oof,
I had both a physical and mental. I was just being crushed under all this this pressure, and it absolutely just destroyed my creativity, my ability to write. I was writing all that time, but it was just like pulling teeth, and the stuff I was writing I just didn't like, and it was just forcing it out. And I really just had to do what we were talking about, do exactly what I did when I was an athlete. I actually quit one as an athlete for a year. I just uh, had a contract, called the team up, and just said, I can't. I'm not gonna play. I sorry, I quit because I had just same thing. The
mm,
mental and physical strain uh, just got too much. Like it just got to the point where all the joy and my ability to go out there and perform just got crushed. And that was actually the best thing I ever did for my career. I took time away, really genuinely like, you know what, I'm never going to play again.
yep.
Uh, and got away from it. And then when I came back, that's when I had the revelation. I was like, well, I kind of wanted to play, but then I was like, well, if I want to go back and play, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? And the analogy I always use is the Avengers, right? So, like, but pre that first that stage, I was sort of like Hawkeye, the
Okay.
long distance shooter, the finesse guy, the uh, so all of my game was predicated on like whether my shot was falling, and I just realized that's not who I want to be. That's not who I am. Like
Yep.
I can affect a game way more if I'm the Hulk. I want to be the guy that's just in the trenches doing the dirty work. Don't care if I ever shoot a shot in the whole game. Let me
Right.
just play defense, rebound, be a mean guy on the court. And once I embraced that, it was something that I could use my physics brain, and it took all the pressure off because suddenly I wasn't worried about whether my shot game, and I didn't even care if I got a shot,
Right.
rebound and hit people, and suddenly my my all of my shooting percentage went up, and I became a much more valuable player, and I was like MVP of the league 2 years later because I had completely
Mm.
changed my mindset of what I was trying to do. So I've tried to apply that exactly to my writing, not take all that pressure, internal or external, and just erase it. And I just do me. I just do what I want to do. Get into my gym, pound out my 2 hours behind the computer screen, get in my workout, and that's it. Write what I want to write, over the top, and don't worry about the rest. The rest will come, whether it does or not. That's the goal.
See that? Man, that's inspiring as hell. I really appreciate that. And especially just I love that you brought up Bill Lambier, to be
Yeah,
honest, because like I remember I watched a lot of basketball throughout my entire life, and I remember the Pistons, and I remember Lambier, and just how much of a thorn and an ass, and just but like he was nasty. But again, like people were afraid to play them for a reason, and it's really cool to have you bring that up and to frame it that way. And what that honestly really speaks to, and this is something that I do talk to other authors about, especially in terms of just like getting themselves out there, just like we're doing right now on a stream. You've got to be authentic. You've got to be you, because the moment you try to be something else, people sniff it out instantly. Like you're done. Because it's disingenuous. It's not really who you are. It's like, yeah, okay, like sure, you're putting on this whatever front this is, but there's something deeper in there, and that's always what I'm trying to get to with people. So I really appreciate that, man. That's some gold in terms of advice for people.
100%. I mean, this is opening a can of worms, but there's a reason that every major Hollywood blockbuster has sucked for the last 2 years. It's because they're they're not writing it what the writer wants to write.
No,
They're
of course
like,
not.
how can we shoehorn in a little bit of this for this audience, a little bit of this for this audience, a little bit of this for this audience, and it's so clear that they're just putting in these token things to try to appease everyone.
Yep.
And all they're doing is alienating their core audience, which is the people that would buy the tickets. And guess what? That's why it sucks.
Dump
No
out
one
the bucket
wants
of worms, man. I'm here for it. Like seriously, you're preaching to the choir on that one. Yeah, I mean, just look at what they did to The Witcher. You had the guy, you have Henry Cavill, you have the one guy that checks all the boxes,
and he loved it. He
loved it, knew had the material memorized, and you got to just be like, nah, that's not the direction we're going to go. And the writers were irritated with him. Like,
Let's
are
try to
you?
get new audiences, right? Like they try to do it with Dungeons and Dragons, Doctor Who,
Oh,
Star
for
Wars,
don't even start
all of
Doctor Who.
Marvel. Like, don't even get me started, right? Like, they're just trying to do it with everything.
The one that didn't try to do it was Maverick. We knew
Exactly.
what it was. You know what the movie is.
Know what we give us what we want.
Yes,
That's what
yes.
we want, right? Just give us what we want. It's give. That's all I'm trying to do with Sledge. I'm giving myself what I want to read. If anyone else wants to read it, that's awesome, but that's all
Right.
we can do is write it,
Just a
right?
little bit of a sarcasm detector. You mean pandering to the 1% isn't profitable? Go
Funny,
figure.
funny that how that doesn't work.
Yeah, did love Joker. I loved the I really liked the first show. I didn't see the musical with Gaga and the whole thing. I'm like, you know what? I can't, like, I'm not even gonna go there. So yeah, no, that's good. Actually, that sets a great stage for when we do the Brawl of the Badasses later too, because
Wait.
we got a lot of originals on there and all of that. Um, so recall for me a time, and maybe it's right now, I don't know, where you were creating like wildfire. The creative the creative cylinders firing like all the way around. It was just like sit down and you could just get it all out and you just felt like you were really in your element and humming along. Is what did that time look like and what did your life look like?
I think I had a stretch of the labyrinth where I was sort of on the home stretch, and I hope I'm sort of entering that with the Wendigo right now, where uh, it was really fun because I was writing it and throwing ideas around with people close to me. So like I'd write
Mm,
Sledge into a corner, and then I had my buddy Rich, who is the Doctor Code Barnes character in the Sledge verse, and my girlfriend Anishka, and my friends Peter Mills and stuff. And I would basically
right here,
I
by
could
the way.
talk to him about it. Yeah, I could talk to him, like, hey, so what could Sledge just did this, and I have no idea how he's going to get out. What could we do? And like people are throwing ideas, and it was just so much fun to sort of the way I like to think of it is when I'm really in it, it's like you're in the middle of that Netflix show that you just love, and you have to wait for the
Yep.
next episode the next week, and you just can't wait to figure out what happens next. So when the writing's really flowing, that's how it is. Like the writer, can't wait to see what happens
Yep.
next. And I'm right there in the Wendigo right now. Like he's now
Nice.
got to go into this next sort of zone where I'm like, I don't know what it is yet, and I know it's gonna be super badass when I figure it out. So I'm just kind of excited every day to go, okay, what's it gonna be? Like what sort of gnarliness is this gonna be?
Excellent. Is there a particular emotional state that you find it's easier to create in? Is it just peace? Is it the peace and quiet of the morning? Are you able to create things? We all from time to time feel some anxiety over whatever is going on in life. It always depends. Some depression or whatever else. Have you had those moments where you've been trying to create when it wasn't optimal? And what does that look like for you?
I Anishka calls it uh, following the stoke. And
Okay.
so I'm in one of these places where it's the going is tough. I'm tired. I'm depressed. Um, I need to just put myself in a place where I'm not actively trying to create. I'm just immersing myself in stuff that
Okay.
stokes, whether that's like watching Die Hard for the 10,000th time, or like finding a new like gnarly horror movie or video game or death metal album. You know, just getting out, reading whatever find a new book series that I'm just like so stoked on, and just so I'm not actively thinking about Sledge. I'm just immersing myself in the stuff that gets my juices flowing.
Right.
A lot of times that's what I'm doing. I'll have my laptop sitting there and it's not even there to write. I'm just watching Die Hard for the thousandth time, and out of nowhere, boom, there it comes, right? Like, oh, wait a minute. Grab my computer and it just sort of falls out.
Yep.
So I just sort of have to create those moments where I'm like, you know what, tonight I'm turning the world off. I'm closing myself in the movie room or in here and just gonna veg out and immerse myself in something that just makes me happy, right?
Yep. Let's throw
That's
on Conan the Destroyer and just like have a night.
that's it. That's it.
Yep. Excellent. You know what? You're not the first one that I've interviewed that has mentioned that, where it's just like they have this sort of bank of stuff that they just love, right? Whether it's like just a set of movies, shows, or whatever else, and it's like just pick something, throw it on, accept that it's not happening right now, and enjoy it. And enjoy that, and understand that it'll come. Die Hard, meditation for our generation. I mean,
100%. I mean, I know that movie is perfect, every single scene perfect, and is a huge inspiration on how that movie was written and how the humor was written into it as it was being filmed.
oh yeah.
I could wax philosophical about Die Hard for because
Yeah,
it's
but I
yeah,
wanna
like
know if you think it's a Christmas movie, though.
100%. It's a story about a man trying to rekindle with his wife on
On
Christmas.
Christmas.
He just happens to have to kill a bunch of badasses to do it.
Somebody on Twitter had asked, like, because they were of the mind that, no, it's not a Christmas movie, and they said, "Well, if John Wick had a Christmas hat on and it was Christmas Day, would that be a Christmas movie?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, it would. It'd be a great one too." Like
I just, thanks to Steve Stark, one of my favorite indie authors, he just put me onto a new favorite Christmas movie. And again, very little Christmas in it. It just happens to take place during Christmas.
Yep.
But here in New Zealand, it's still called I Come in Peace. But I guess that was a bit of a over the top title. So it's called Dark Angel.
Hmm.
It's got Ivan Drago, Dolph Lundgren is the
Oh, yeah.
lead, and it's like this cop hunting down this evil alien, and it just happened to take place on Christmas. It has just immediately jumped into my yearly Christmas rotation. It is so awesome in
Nice.
the 80s action schlock vein, really genuinely scary, badass villain. Awesome movie. So add that one to the new Christmas rotation. Dark Angel,
Dark Angel.
I Come in Peace.
Yeah, my favorite one is Better Off Dead with John Cusack. It's just like it's the classic. I want my $2, like the whole thing. I love the absurdity of it, but like that about me. Um, so what about do you feel like you have enough time to do these things, to create, to write and all that kind of stuff, like just in terms of life and everything that's going on? You've got a family, like does it work for you?
I am a huge believer in not having time is an excuse, and I had that excuse, and I know it because it was an excuse I had.
Mm.
I mean, I have between 2 and 4 kids here in the house, depending on well, between 0 and 4, depending on the time, the week. We have a awesome, uh, manic household. All of our kids play about 100 sports each. We all have our, you know, jobs. My parents are here now. There's a billion things going on at all times.
Yep.
Either you'll be able to find that come up that excuse that you don't have time to write is the easiest thing to come up with. You can find that everywhere.
Yep.
I don't know if you ever read the War of Art, not the Art of War, Sun Tzu, but the War of Art by Stephen Pressfield.
I have not.
It's a brilliant, just manifesto, nonfiction book on creativity. It's
Oh,
right up your alley if you read it. And
nice.
he calls it resistance. And
Hmm.
resistance is that little voice in your head that is telling you, you know what, if you don't write tonight, you just get some more sleep, you eat, you'll feel better tomorrow, and then you'll be creative. Or if you just put it off till later in the day, that'll be. And there's this voice, this resistance that is going to, at all times, be pushing against you. And I just know by now that Sledge just needs to pick up his hammer and smash that fucker in the face. Otherwise, you'll never get anything written. So I am actually now good at, you know what, I'm just going to put in my time, whether I feel like it or not. Just open it up and look at it and get it done. So
Right.
I open it up every day, even if it's only like, oh shit, I only got 10 minutes. Screw it. I'm doing it. I'm going to get in my workout every day,
Right.
no matter what.
Mm. So War of Art, the other one that I just wrote that down. The other one, I just thought about it. One that I wanted to pick up was there's one on creativity by Rick Rubin. And
Have it. So good.
is it? Yes, that's one
That's
I've had my eye on too.
one of those great books just to have on the coffee table or just next to you because it's written Rick Rubin style, you know,
Yeah.
it's just sort of like pieces of his brain all over the thing. And he's just got another such good quote in there that he said, uh, the second you start writing for an audience, we talked about this earlier,
Mhm.
um, it's no longer art, it's commerce. And
Oh,
that one always just hits me all the way
wow.
through. I'm like, that's it. You don't forget the rest of the world. You just have to create what you want to create.
That's a savage quote. Holy crap.
Oh, good. Yeah, that book's awesome. Aniska got it for me for Christmas, and it's just one of those books. Actually, it's in my other room, but it
Yep.
just sort of sits near me, and it's just sort of pick it up and just sort of get the vibe of
Right.
his creativity. He's such a
Uh,
cool
well, I mean, Beastie Boys are one of my favorites, and so like I gotta go with I gotta go with all that. But
dude. Done like Slayer,
yep, DMC,
NWA, you know, like
right, right.
polar opposites of the spectrum. It's just so awesome.
You know what's funny too is that because I heard him talking about it in one interview where dude can't like play an instrument. Like, he has no like there's no musical like really skill. He listens, he feels it, and like that's what it is. Like
Just
how freaking cool is that, right?
so badass. I know.
Absolutely. All right, so definitely there. Let me talk a little bit about. I just want to touch a little bit on your marketing and everything else. You've you know you have a partner behind you that you said does a lot of your design work and everything else, right? And pronounce her name one more time for me.
Mishka.
Anishka. Okay, and so was that just sort of like, hey, I need some help with this, or like how does that dynamic work for you?
Well, I knew the vibe, obviously, that I wanted. I wanted Sledge to be grindhouse 80s action horror, you know,
Yep,
sort of uh,
pulpy. Yep,
pulpy, badass. I knew the exact vibe I was after, and so the first piece of Sledge art and design that was ever done was obviously the cover to Sledge versus the Labyrinth, which is still my all time favorite cover, and that was Gemma Cheer, a designer here in town that Anishka worked with.
mm,
Uh, but since then, yeah, it's all Anishka. So if you want, for example, a badass Sledge tee, um, all the title, the design, the logo, the vibe, all of that stuff, all the cool imagery and posts. I am the final yes or no, but the design sense behind it is all in this because she just has this visual eye that
yep.
she can, she sees the things that I don't see. Like, no, you can't have that because that's too much empty space, and
Right, right.
I'm like, I don't know, what you can't, or like that or wherever. So I'm just so lucky that I have her, to do all that, and she just basically, I just give her the vibe I
Yep,
want it to be, but she knows by now.
yep,
Make it badass, black and red and white, and go for it. So each Sledge book has three colors. So this was Labyrinth, the white, the red, and the black. The Wendigo has got a purple thrown in there, so
oh, nice.
it's gonna be gnarly.
Excellent.
So, but all that sort of stuff, the color palette, the imagery, the how it's all laid out. Um, if you check out the website, it's just got a new vibe it just got a nishkified a little bit more. The Christmas merch, all the merch, it's all just looking super badass, and I couldn't be more stoked on it. And it's all because of my beautiful, stunning woman who's here in the chat.
Yeah, yep, right here. Blowing you a kiss, man. It's very sweet.
There's
I like it. Oh, that's really awesome. And honestly, like the look is your branding is spot on. It's just like so on point. And it, what's great is that it fits you as a person. Like we're getting to know you now, just talking through all of these things and everything. And like this is as soon as you said Bill Lambier, man, like that just says it all.
he's the
It's really like I can't let go of that. Like that's just I remember like my guy was Allen Iverson. I'm an Iverson guy, right? Because like I just like the underdog, the warrior, just throwing himself among these giants, and finding the success like in spite of it all and all of that. But I really appreciate that. And the look that you've got going for this is like that's like an iconic look, and that's really something that people struggle with, especially the indie authors, and the ones that just like, I'm going to create my cover and create my own cover and do this kind of stuff. And I tell people like, there's nothing wrong with creating your own cover. Just make sure like it makes sense. Like just make sure it makes sense. And if you have absolutely no design skills whatsoever, you might want to, think about doing something else.
100%. And like, I mean, it's got to be so hard in the indie. You and I are lucky in that we're kind of doing something that is unique, or at least not a saturated market. Like
Right.
I like to think that there's nothing quite like Sledge out there, sort of action noir, where
Right.
it's right, and you're sort of the absurdist sci-fi, where it's like it's its own sort of unique genre. Like if you're just another fantasy indie
Yeah.
fantasy author, it's got to be
It's tough.
so hard. But I mean, I've seen 10,000 indie fantasy covers that are all identical, basically, right?
Right, right. Well, yeah.
It's so hard to come up with something that's not just more of
Oh,
the
look, man, the last time and there's like this whole, especially in the trad sphere, there's this whole look to it. Like if you walk into a Barnes and Noble, their covers, they're all just like,
they're all the same.
yeah, and a lot of them are just really hideous, just like the way they use the color, it makes it look like this weird kind of like modernist cover. I hate it. I grew up on listening, my brothers in particular, a big influence for some of the music that I listened to. And one of the bands I always listened to was Yes. And the artist who did the covers for Yes, his name's Roger Dean. And he did these watercolor like alien landscapes. Nothing like it out there. And it lent such a neat kind of feel for it. I was like, man, this is really, really cool. So it's really, really hard to nail that for sure.
100%.
Once you do, and that's your branding, you stick with it. You run with it. Like you embrace it. That's you. That's yours. Off you go. You post a lot of badass stuff up on Twitter. I post a lot of absurd nonsense on Twitter. Like it all works, and that's kind of how you have to structure it in a lot of ways.
And it's all, I mean, I'm 100% trying to create a brand. I want Sledge to be Batman, right?
Right.
Batman, but more badass, right? So when you see the logo, you know exactly what you're getting.
Right.
The Sledge versus universe is exactly it's coming across exactly what I want, but it's all thought out. It's all exactly what I want it to be. And you can't suddenly have some pandering thing like, oh, let me try to get a new audience by I'll throw in a little romanticy vibe into this one or something. Not what I'm doing.
No, and honestly, that's a highway to some really confused and terrible reviews, because you're putting words in front of somebody that they are like, like I know if I pick up this book, I know what I'm going to get, right? It's like it's not difficult to figure out. You pick up Space Pew Pew, there's a piece of cheese on the cover, like what you're going to get. There's cartoon cheese on the damn cover.
The title,
Well, exactly. Right. Like there's definitely something to be said for that. So like that's how it works. It's definitely something that authors need to be paying more attention to for sure. Let's see. Gemma Cheer Design New Zealand is a cover artist. If anyone wants to hit her up, she's rad. That's awesome. We can reach out to you for some contact info. Yeah, that's epic. And yeah, that's a great job on that. So before we get into some fun stuff, I want to ask you, is there anything you would change about your creative process? There's anything that you would adjust, whether how you work, efficiency, flexibility, output, or anything? Would you make any adjustments, or do you feel like you're in your groove?
I mean, 100%. That's a slippery slope because there's
Mhm.
no question it'd be great to be able to pump out 10 books a year, and
Sure.
you know what I mean. I'd love to just be able to just sit down and, oh, what do you know? Be one of these guys that's on Twitter every day. Oh, 5,000 more words today. But it's just not. So again, going back to lame beer, I've just embraced who I am. Uh, I had to do the same thing with basketball, right?
Yep.
I spent so much of my career wishing I had a higher vertical jump, wishing I was quicker, wishing I, had all these things that I didn't have,
Yep.
and I was never going to get them. The moment I embraced, no, this is what I am. I'm lame beer. Uh, my writing is, it's just a process of descending into the pit and just battling out amongst the mud and the blood and the beer.
Right.
That's a Johnny Cash line, I guess.
That's great.
That's where I'm at, and that's
Yeah.
what I am, and I just got to embrace it. So
I love it.
I'm just going to say I love exactly what it is because it is what it is. There's no changing.
Yep.
So I'm just going to go with that.
So before we start some Brawl of the Badasses, a couple of the bands that you like to listen to, give me a couple recommendations. I don't mind the hard stuff. Like I'm an Opeth guy. I love Tool, like all that kind of stuff. I'm into it. So who do you got?
As far as death metal, I'll go with Amon Amarth. If you haven't heard of them, they're
I have.
awesome.
They're on my playlist. Yep.
They're Viking inspired death metal. So the album I would jump on first is called Jomsviking,
Okay.
Joms, Jomsviking. The Jomsviking were the Viking mercenary warriors. So they were like axes for hire. But the cool reason that album's cool, you'll get a great taste of their music, which is awesome. But that's a concept album. So the novel or the album itself is a story
Oh, nice.
of this Jomsviking. So you follow on with the lyrics. It's super cool.
Love
So
it.
I love them. There would be my death metal recommendation. And then you've probably played him forever, but John Carpenter is my writing. I just love everything he did. All his old movie soundtracks.
Yep.
Big Trouble in Little China. They Live. Escape from New York. I'm just constantly rocking those when I write.
Nice.
I'd jump on there.
Yeah, They Live is one I have. I mean, I haven't seen that in forever. I'm all out of bubble gum. That's I haven't seen that one in a long time. I loved Piper, man. Rowdy Piper. He was like one of my favorites. I used to do the wrestling thing back in the 80s and all
He was awesome, and that's got John Carpenter's best fight scene. The
that.
fight
Does it?
scene in Alley it's between the two protagonists. It's just like the most knockdown, drag out. It's so good. It's
Nice.
so good. That's the
Hey, that's
movie.
the inspiring stuff, man. I get it. So normally, for everybody that's here and hanging out, just give you a little thing. Normally, what I do on the stream, once we're done having this kind of conversation, is we play a little game and we do this whole wheel that I spin. I give you some characters, you pitch a story, and the whole thing. And if we got some time and you want to do that, that's fine. But today I was just kind of inspired and I wanted to replace it with something. I'm like, I need something that's more of like, I don't need you coming up and pitching a story about like, a cute little robot and like his romance, like, sure, like it'd be fun to pry open your brain and see how you can make that into something brutal. But at the same time, I thought, you know what, let's just play this get to know you kind of thing. And I came up with this idea because you're a hoop guy. And I'm like, we'll call it a Sweet 16. And so I'm going to bring it up on screen now and show everybody kind of what we're working with here. The Brawl of the Badasses.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm going to, there you go. All right. At least had something to go with it. I'm going to clip out the chat for just a second so we can get a good view of this thing, and I'll kind of explain what's going on here. Right. So with the Brawl of the Badasses, what I did was I actually used some of Twitter's Grok AI to help me out with a few of these. And I'm like, let's dig into some of the badasses that are in movies, comics, whatever else. Like, let's just get some of the popular ones, pop culture ones that people would know, and rank them. just pick out a whole bunch. And honestly, man, like I could have filled out a bracket of 64, but we don't have time for that. So I'm like, let me get a whole bunch of them, and let's just have a good time with it. And then I even went a little bit further with it when I was working on the introduction for each of these, and I wanted to make sure that they were all hidden because I didn't want anything like oh, this guy versus I didn't want you peeking at anything or anything like that. So I'm gonna zoom in over here. The 2 question marks at the bottom, those are your backups, right? So if there's a character you don't know, I can't imagine, but just in case somebody you don't know, you want to call in a backup and replace them, we can do that. But I think we're gonna be able to run with it. And what I'd like for you to do, just so we can pry into your brain and hear your thought process, is I'm going to give you the match, you talk it out, tell me who you think would win and why. Right? Maybe I'll add something to it. Maybe I'll push back a little bit. I don't know. But I'll probably agree with everything that you're saying. I went through this bracket. I know who my winner would be. But it's for me, it's like a little bit of a sentimental favorite. So like, I don't know if you're going to get the same one. So what do you say, man? Let's do this, right?
Dude, this is so cool. Just the fact that Sledge inspired. This is the most Sledge video of all time, right? Like the levels, the tournament, like Sledge's backstory is, of course, he was in the pit having to fight to the death amongst all these other badasses. So this is the sledgiest damn thing of all time, and I could not be more stoked. So let's go.
Perfect. Let's do it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and introduce them like I'm in a boxing ring, right? I'm going to introduce each one, and then I'll tell you their name. I'll unveil them, and I did rank these. Like I believe there is a clear like first place to 16th place. So you're typically going to have number 1 against the number 8 on Group A.
Yeah, I was about to say, are they seeded? Okay, cool.
They are seeded. No, look, man. I went through it like a few times. I spent hours on this today, man. Dude, I was like,
so good.
I wanted to have a really good time with it. There's definitely. I was hoping, like, I read up about you on your website. Like, I know you a little bit, and I'm like, I'm hoping I get him on some where he's like, damn it, like that can't be a first round match. Like, shit. So we're really gonna have at this. No one gets a bye. All right. And I'll bring in the chat from time to time and see what you guys are thinking too. So first one, here we go. Standing at the crossroads of power and fear with a grip that can choke the very life out of hope itself. Here comes the harbinger of darkness, the master of the Sith, father of the year, Darth Vader. There he is.
Surely a 1 seed.
And it's surely a 1 seed. Yeah. Well, he's holding up the 1. So there's that. Next up, his opponent, a warrior of vengeance clad in yellow with a sword that has tasted the blood of many. This bride of fury has carved her way through legions to claim what is rightfully hers. She is the one who can kill Bill, Beatrix Kiddo.
Damn, that's tough first round matchup only because I love Kill Bill.
I know, right?
So it's so hard to have to just ruthlessly murder her first round. But early on, she gets in a pretty lethal slash on him, I reckon. But
right. I'm trying to find the best way to see this. I think this is the best way to see this. I look, man, Darth Vader's winning that. Like
10%. He underestimates her quickly and then quickly force chokes her, and
it's over. There's that. And yeah, no, Jacqueline is not wrong here. This was the highlight of my day. I spent a lot of time on it. I was having a great time.
It's the highlight of my day too.
See, that's perfect. All right. Good. All right. So I figured that one would be over quick. Now listen, I tried really hard to stray from like people that had lots of power, supernatural stuff like that. I wanted to kind of keep it to humans the best I could, but sometimes it's just hard. He loses a hand again. She cut off his middle finger, but he ended up force choking her and throwing her into something that had lightning going. Our next one, continuing with Group A, Once a simple man, now an unstoppable force of retribution. He is a man of focus, the one you send to kill the boogeyman. That would be John Wick.
Good one.
And against this was just a vanity pick for me. This hero fights against the undead with a blend of ingenuity, violence, and a hair trigger. With a boomstick in one hand and a chainsaw as the other, he is Ash from Housewares. Shop smart, shop smart. Who you got, Nick?
Oh, 100%. I got to go with my guy, Ash, man.
Are you serious?
I know in reality, John Wick is likely more of a badass in terms of a killing machine,
Right.
but he does not have a chainsaw strapped to his arm. And so he gets off a quick shot, blows off Ash's hand.
Yeah.
Ash is cowering, pretending he's dead. Well, little known, he's slipping on the chainsaw, spins around. It's John in the gunt. John's bleeding out.
Look, man.
The broomstick takes off his head. Surely Ash wins this.
I could not disagree with you more, but you are my guest, and I'll honor that. I'll honor that. Give me some sugar, baby. Look, I'm not mad about it. Ash is one of my favorite characters ever in anything. So you know me, like I'm all about the absurdity. I can't be mad about Ash winning that one. I can't.
100%. And you got to.
We have our first upset
too, right? So Ash is indie, like the original Evil Dead's the ultimate indie horror movie.
Right.
Gotta go with it.
Baba Yaga turning Ash into an ashtray. Yeah, and no, Jacqueline's not wrong. I really thought John Wick was the no-brainer, but I didn't have him winning the whole thing.
But Ash gets lucky there. Take him out.
Ash gets lucky. Look, I love a good upset, man. I love a good upset. All right. So our next one, born from the ashes of war. With a body able to defy death itself, this mutant has lived through decades of battle. He is the ultimate survivor, and that would be the Wolverine.
Damn, he's tough.
It is tough, especially when you see this next one, man. I did this one because...
So can I ask what CZ would be? This would be... That would have 1 versus 8, so that would be...
So Wolverine was 2 in this bracket.
2. So
two on this side. Yep. I think I had Wick. I think I had Wick as 3, and then we'll get there. We'll get there. So and I'm really like I couldn't wait for this one. Here's a reveal. From gritty streets, this brute of a man has a moral code as unforgiving as the city he protects. Walking the line between monster and hero, here all the way from Sin City.
Damn it.
It's Marv.
Oh man, those are like 2 of my all-time faves.
I knew it.
Oh, this is a hard one.
This is a hard one. Man, what are you thinking?
Really want Marv to win, but I just don't see how he could.
Yeah.
He does survive the electric chair for 1 blast at least, but you just almost can't kill Wolverine.
Yeah, that was
this pre-adamantium Wolverine where he's just bone and could like theoretically have every bone in his body broken and then just be left there like not dead.
Look, you're the physics guy, right? So you tell me, like,
adamantium Wolverine.
Does it really change it that much?
I think Marv could break the hell out of Wolverine.
Yeah.
Right?
I could see that.
He didn't have adamantium bones, but if it's adamantium Wolverine, I think unfortunately you got to go with Wolverine.
Look, the Wolverine, he's the 2 seed on this side, so I'm going to say it's the adamantium Wolverine.
Man, I can't believe you pitted those 2 against each other, man. Marv is like the #1 Sledge influence.
Right.
You know, I love Marv unconditionally. He's my favorite. In a fight, I think you got to go with the guy that is unkillable.
Look, man, if I had to lose Wick, you got to lose Marv. That's
fair enough.
Wolverine takes it.
That's a tough.
What do we got? What do we got?
That's one liner though. Like, is
What do
that
we
all
got
you
cooking in the chat? Jeremy's he's Marv stands no chance ever.
God damn it, Jeremy, you're right. But
I know, like, I hate that you're right. It sucks.
I love Wolverine, and I love him because he's what Batman should be in that he kills dudes. So you read a Wolverine comic,
Yeah,
like a good one, and the body count will be at like 100.
yeah.
Where, I love it.
I loved the movie The Wolverine, where he was in Japan or whatever it was. Like,
That was awesome.
oh, so I have the like the unrated version of it, and it's just like crazy. What a great flick. Yeah, no, epic character.
Awesome Wolverine comic. Read Old Man Logan. It's like what the Logan
Nice.
he should have been.
Yep.
Basically, it's like post-apocalyptic, and Wolverine's like old and badass on one last mission, but he comes across the Hulk, and the Hulk is like a redneck inbred family. Hulk, like the inbred redneck Hulk versus Wolverine fight is just like exactly what you want to be, but better.
Man, I would pay money to see that on a screen with some banjo music.
They had the source material right there. I don't know why they didn't make that movie.
Right, like, why not?
So good. So check out that comic run, Old Man Logan. So damn.
All right, so let's finish out this side with our next one. From the jungles of Vietnam, you already know who it is. To the heart of conflict, this soldier has become a legend, surviving against all odds with nothing but his wits and a bow and some explosive arrows in a really funny scene. Favorite. He is Rambo.
I love Rambo. Especially Rambo 2, I reckon, is in the top 5 all time. First Blood Part 2, all-time action flicks.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
The slow gear up scene that was one for every action movie for the next 20 years.
It was better than in Commando when he was tying grenades to himself by the pins.
Well, that was all stolen from Rambo.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Okay, and so our next one, her fight for survival against machines from the future has defined her. Okay. A badass single-handedly ensuring the future of the human race, the Terminator Slayer herself, Sarah Connor. Who you got?
Now, Rambo's taking her ass out, but she was awesome, especially in the second one. How much work she put in to become a true badass in that movie was really cool. But
yeah, she's epic. Epic character.
Her ass out.
Epic character, and just I can't even think about Terminator without hearing without hearing Axl Rose singing, to be honest. Like it's just like they go together. All right, so there's our reduced 4. We've got Darth Vader, Rambo. Darth Vader and Ash in the next round, and Wolverine
Maybe
and Rambo.
John Wick would have been fun, but he was dying next round anyway. So
yeah, exactly. All right, man. Let's jump over to the next bracket and let's see who we got here.
The next 1 seed. This is so awesome, dude. I'm so stoked.
All right, here we go. Chat, how we holding up here? Let's see, dude. We know why they didn't make that comic into a movie. Address that earlier. Yeah, I mean, there's that too.
That's exactly right. It didn't pamper.
It is. All right, folks. Here,
they had Frank Miller's, Dark Knight Returns where Batman takes out Superman in the most clever, badass way possible.
Right.
They had that for Batman versus Superman, and then they just didn't use it.
Yes.
The all-time great source material literally ever written in a comic.
And like,
I don't know what people are doing. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm right there with you, man. All right, so our next one. This intimidating and unrelenting cyborg has terrorized time itself with an eye that never sleeps and a resolve that never wavers. It's the Terminator.
Definitely a 1 seed.
Definitely the 1 seed. Yep. This one you're going to love. Rising from humble beginnings to the top of a criminal empire, his ambition knows no bounds. With a voice that screams, "Say hello to my little friend."
Good one.
He is Tony Montana.
So that's a good one. I mean, obviously the Terminator crushes him. It would be really fun to watch.
It would. It really.
He just snorts the mountain of coke, so he's
I
like
know.
no pain, and he's like getting arm blown off, but then he's like getting leg blown
Still,
off, and he's
still with
just
it.
talking smack the whole time.
Yeah.
What's he gives a chainsaw to the dude in the bathroom
On the
scene?
bathroom. Yeah, that was
So he tries
gnarly.
to do chainsaw, but of course the Terminator's made out of adamantium or whatever. Arnold takes him out, but that would be
Yeah.
a awesome, fun fight scene to write.
It would be a super exactly. That would be a super yeah, the drug fueled Tony Montana and
Oh,
just
yeah.
like cursing and come at me and the whole thing. I love it.
So good.
Scarface epic. All right. So our next one. You're gonna know this one. This vigilante has turned tragedy into a crusade, battling the night's darkest shadows with nothing but his intellect, sheer will, and an endless pile of cash. Introducing vengeance incarnate, it is the Batman.
So iconically badass. To be honest,
Yes.
though, it took Frank Miller to make Batman badass. Like, Batman had sort of been kind of like corny, dorkified by the TV show.
Yeah, for sure.
And thank Frank Miller, the legend, for making The Dark Knight.
Who's your favorite movie Batman? Like which actor?
I probably got to go with Keaton just because that original movie was like seminal in my childhood.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Keaton was my
But
Batman.
it was just so good. But I loved just the grittiness of Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Just those are my favorite movies. But as far as iconic, I think probably Keaton.
I would have loved to have seen Val Kilmer get a shot at a darker Batman.
Yeah, he's got the jaw. Clooney,
Yeah,
my least favorite. To be honest, the new Pattinson one was good. They finally made,
I loved it.
Batman's a detective, so they finally made a detective Batman story, which was really cool. There's
Yeah.
so much good Batman source material out there. I don't know. It should be impossible to make a bad Batman movie.
Well, and we'd be remiss not to mention Lego Batman as one of the best ever as well.
Awesome. I love that dude. He does the Lego show too. I can't remember
Yep.
like his name. He's funny, man. I love that.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And here we go with Batman's opponent. This is another one I think you're going to be like, oh, damn. Once a drifter, now an icon of justice with a knack for trouble, his strength, intelligence, and military background make him a force to be reckoned with. He is Jack Reacher.
Damn, okay. That'd be a fun one to write as well.
Yeah, it would.
You got to go with Batman, though. Batman's got the choice. Reacher's a badass, but Batman is the ultimate clever badass.
Yeah.
Especially if you go into, like I said, The Dark Knight Returns. Like,
Right.
if you would have said, go before you read this comic, Batman defeats Superman, you'd be like, that's going to be the dumbest written thing of all time because it's impossible. But then
Right.
you see how he went about and did it and blotted out the sun.
Yep.
It's just so clever. Got to go with Batman.
Yep. Agreed. And I can't wait for Terminator versus Batman. We're going to talk that one out. Let's get through these four because I got some good ones here. These are always like the bottom of the bracket's always where the good matches, like, the good first rounds are.
2-7. All the upsets are in the NCAA tournament. That 15 seed always gets upset.
I know there's at least once a year. That's right. So here we go. From the ancient battlefields where glory was forged in blood and bravery, this warrior king led his men against impossible odds. 300. The man who made the god king bleed. It is Leonidas.
Okay. I thought we were going Conan there.
I put Conan out of this one. I had Conan out of this one. So, but let me reveal these three. Let's see where we go. Next one, an enigma with a deadly past. This former CIA operative has outsmarted and outfought the world's best, always staying one step ahead. A memory that is both a curse and a weapon. It is Jason Bourne.
That's a good battle there.
It is a good battle. We've got technology and like the modern stuff. You got Leonidas is just like a total badass. So who do you got and why?
I see this one being the Indiana Jones scene. Like Leonidas has got his 300. They all put their shields up. He's looking super badass. And then Bourne just walks up and just shoots him over the top of his shield. Oh, shit. He's got guns.
If it was just like a knife fight, who'd you take?
Knife fight? Ooh. I think you got to go with Leonidas there because that
Yeah.
was what they did. They fought with swords.
Right.
Does Bourne gets a gun, he takes him out.
Yeah, I agree. I think Matt Damon would take that one. So our last one right here, her journey from space to the depths of horror has made her a symbol of human resilience and bravery. Destroyer of xenomorphs, pilot of the power loader, get away from her, you bitch. Ellen Ripley.
Ultimate female badass.
Yes,
The
number
ultimate
one.
badass heroine ever in a movie for sure.
And this is going to be a good one too. This one-man army has taken the war to the streets, merciless and brutal to the core. It's the Punisher.
Oh, Punisher's taking her out. Well, does she get the mech suit though? If
does she get the power load? I know, like even honestly, even with that, like that was against a giant alien queen, like it sort of worked.
That seems rigged, but if she gets that, then it's going to be a hell of a fight. But then you got to give the Punisher explosives.
Yeah,
and he probably rigs something up and takes her out. But
for sure,
we got to go with the Punisher.
I would go. I would go. I don't think you're wrong. So that brings us to another round here, and we're
the quarterfinals. Ash had a great upset, but yeah, he's getting got.
There's no shot.
I see how he gets though. Like he brings out the chainsaw, it's revved, he's got it rocking, and then Vader force off his own head with it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, like the comedy in it would be grand.
Yeah, it'll be great, but it's going to be an extremely gory set.
That's just what we call pillow talk.
But we got adamantium Wolverine. He gets blown to bits, I think, but then it sucks back together. It's just his adamantium skeleton. He sucks himself back together. Wolverine takes Rambo, I think.
Yeah, I feel like Wolverine be the only guy that would somehow be able to surprise attack John Rambo, you know. But that's setting up an epic semifinal. I'm just saying
that's gonna be tough.
So think on that one. Next we got Terminator and Batman.
Let's do the bottom one first because that's such a fun one.
Yep.
Let's go here. Bourne versus the Punisher. This is a good one. Now I think Bourne is the better fighter, and
I would agree.
More skilled operative. But if we're going tournament of the badasses, there is really almost no one more badass than the Punisher.
Frank Castle, man.
This one is a coin toss, but my heart says the Punisher figures out a way to take him out.
I feel like this is probably the closest fight so far.
It would be a knockdown, drag out, and it would be spread across like an entire city.
Oh yeah, hell yeah!
Stuff get blown up. There would be a couple car chases. There would be more badassery, and then the final duel would come down to fist, hand to hand.
Right.
The Punisher would do something extra badass that Bourne just wasn't prepared for.
Be like in a subway, like pushing his head in the way of an oncoming train or something, like
this. Yeah, or using like a broken shard of bone to
right. Oh man, this was all of my work on this was so worth it. Here we go. I mean, look, that brings us. What's that?
This is peak internet. There's nothing currently being streamed anywhere on the globe that is better than that.
It's better than
no question.
All right, man. We've got Terminator. We've got Batman. What are you thinking?
One of the ultimate battles.
Anyone in the chat want to chime in? By the way,
whole novel, right? This would be a whole movie.
Multiple.
100%. And the Terminator has been sent back in time by the Joker and Harley Quinn's like future kid to take out the one guy that just kept beating the shit out of their parents. Um, but you got to go with the Terminator. He's got the metal exoskeleton.
Yeah.
Batman beat Superman, so
Yeah, but like Sarah Connor beat the Terminator. Like that's he didn't really win.
yeah, he did die, and Batman always wins. That's a really hard one to pick. But then he came back, and then he ended up killing himself in the molten metal.
Right.
Batman versus the Terminator. This is almost the final.
I know, right?
Damn, I wish we could sub out the Punisher for Batman. But Batman had to be that four. Batman should have been the 2 seed.
He should have been down there. Yeah. Yeah.
This is tough. But yeah, okay. If we're taking the Batman that beat Superman at his own game, then he would figure out a way to take out the Terminator. He'd have a setup where he would lure him into like the trash compactor,
Right.
dump the thing into the molten iron, and
The one thing he has is that intimate knowledge of the current day world that the Terminator does not have.
true that. And he is the ultimate in terms of clever badassery. So he would have something up his sleeve and he would win.
Right.
Uh, if it was more than one Terminator,
That's
then
the point that Philip's making for sure. Yeah. Terminators win through numbers.
but if it's
Batman.
just Arnie Terminator, especially OG Arnie from the first movie, you
Right.
gotta go with Batman. Like he's tougher than Sarah Connor, and Sarah Connor figured out a way. So
Yep.
I hate to see the Terminator go,
I know. It's another upset.
but Batman takes him out.
Batman takes him out. Oh, man. Here we go. Vengeance. Okay. So that brings us to deciding on our finalists.
Semi-finals.
Yep.
Let's
So
do
here we
the
go.
right-hand side first. Should we go Batman versus Punisher first?
Yeah, why not?
Let's do it while we're over
Let's
there. This is like the vigilante semi-final.
exactly. Look at this. Look at this graveyard in the back.
So
All these guys.
badass is strewn body skulls. This is the sledgiest thing of all time. All right, so
Punisher Batman.
vigilantes. They're both the Punisher was actually the guy in the alley that killed Batman's parents accidentally.
Nice.
They were the ones that killed his wife. So now we just have this epic final or semifinal. I think the Punisher rigs up a serious booby trap that genuinely gets Batman down to his knees.
Yep.
But Batman, just through sheer will and the fact that he's got some new high-tech suit, which allowed him
Right.
to stand the tremendous pressure of the explosion. I think Batman's got to take him out.
I think Batman takes it out. I think it would be again one of the most. I think Batman's fights are probably the most epic in all these. But yeah, I can't argue with that. I don't believe Punisher would take out Terminator.
No.
I couldn't see that happening. So I think it's the right call, man.
Yep.
We have our first finalist, Batman. It is,
Batman.
And now here we go with
This
adamantium
because they're both superhuman, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whew.
Yeah, I mean lightsabers can cut through a lot.
True.
So there's that.
So can a lightsaber cut through adamantium? We need this answered before.
It's a solid question.
Right. So, because what was in the, what's the stuff that the, Mandalorian, the Beskar. So Beskar is, I think, adamantium corollary. Did we ever get that? Like the dark saber, could that cut through?
I don't know.
Mandalorian. I can't remember. I loved Mando, but
I mean, they kind of I hate to say it, but they kind of like they wussified Star Wars as it got into Disney, and like now you got like the whips and the whole like all this nonsense.
Yeah.
So like I feel like I'm talking OG Vader, right?
OG Vader is ultimate badass. To be honest, know what they did? So they finally did. It was just one episode of the Obi-Wan show. Did you watch that?
No, I didn't
There's
see it.
one episode of the Obi-Wan Disney show
Right?
where it's Vader, Prime Vader, just taking out an entire town. And it is so good. It's like you finally get like Vader in his prime, ultimate badass, doing ultimate badass shit. That Vader against Wolverine, this is one of the all-time epic battles. But I will just say that with the Force and the lightsaber can't get through the adamantium, but he can use the Force to like bend Wolverine into some form of thing that he
Give him the
can't.
Magneto treatment.
Yeah, it gives him that sort of Magneto treatment. I think Darth Vader's got to take him out, but that fight there is just absolutely epic.
I could see it both ways. I could see Wolverine just in terms of speed and agility carving the shit out of him before he has a chance. But man, it depends on where and like when and everything. And is that like the my favorite Star Wars moment, honestly, of the last I guess 30 years is the end of Rogue One when he
That's it.
comes and he's so violent and just like I
One scene. Yeah.
watch
So
it, rewind it.
Just search out that episode of Obi-Wan. Just watch that one. Forget the rest of the show. Just watch that one. That scene, but spread into an episode. It's
Epic.
Awesome.
Oh, all right. Yep.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think Spaceballs is the best Star Wars movie, but that's just me. So we're calling it for Vader. What do you think?
I think we got that. That is a knockdown drag. I think it's the Force that sets him across. I don't think the lightsaber is the thing that gets him. It can't get through the adamantium.
Yep.
Wolverine is cutting him up, but the Force sets Vader over the top.
And so, my friend, here we are. Here we are.
What it should be, right? The two most iconic badasses.
I think so. Let's see. We had Rogue One, Hallway Vader. Yep, for the win. Avid book junkie. Greetings, sir. And Rogue One, Hallway Vader, and pleasantly surprised Batman has made it this far. I'm not that surprised. I do think the Terminator was a tough one for sure. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. But
that should have been the semifinal. But I still think you're right.
I feel like it would have ended this way.
Terminator loses in all the movies.
Yeah,
so
right.
Batman never loses. He comes back. If you're into nonfiction, by the way, non sequitur, there's an incredible nonfiction book titled, I'm just seeing if I have it within arm's reach, titled Becoming Batman. And it's basically the physiology, psychology, and biology of could you, as a mortal man, become Batman?
Oh, nice.
Physically and mentally possible. And a lot of the science of Sledge, the hardening of your bones and the stuff is from that book. It's like what could your body endure? It's
right.
a really cool book. And the basically the conclusion, spoiler alert, is yes, you could become Batman, but only for a very short period. So
the first time the first time you try to get up to the top of a building with your little bat wire, you'd probably fall down and break your neck anyway. So,
which leads us to our final battle. Now, this would be an incredible movie, and take out Superman. He did take out Superman, and also the second they brought in the Anakin backstory. So I do this with like Michael Myers. The second they put all the Michael Myers backstory in the Halloween movies, in my mind, that's not Michael Myers. Right. Anakin, the annoying teen from the prequels, that's not Darth Vader. So if we're
Right.
talking peak Vader versus peak Batman, yeah, I think you got to go with Vader
I
because
agree.
he's superhuman.
Phil's making a good point. Unless Bats shuts down Vader's suit remotely somehow, it's over.
But does that shut down the Force? Like,
No,
he's just
no.
gotta, he can't breathe and he's just gonna die quick.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what Batman would do, right? Like, if he can take out Superman by like using like a like he figured out a
He
way to take
finds
away
the
the power of
advantage.
the sun. He finds the advantage. So this could be an upset. So he finds a way to take out the suit. He finds a way to take the A2 the batteries out the bottom of the lightsaber, right? And the crystal, he smashes the crystal somehow.
Yeah.
Now Vader's like on life support, but no life support plug pulled. He's got the force, but he's dying quickly. Uh,
Yeah. This
I
is
think
one of those where like I
yeah,
feel like it
man could
depends
go
on the turf.
100%. But I think just because to be a true badass, it's you gotta be an underdog. And to be honest, Batman has taken out. He's had the toughest road,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you're
He's
not
had
wrong.
the toughest road here. Like Vader got lucky having Ash in the second round.
Right.
Green was arguably the tougher semifinal.
Yeah.
This is a real tough one. I think just for the amount of badass material out there, Vader's got the original two movies,
Yeah.
got one scene in Rogue One,
Right.
and he got one episode in the uh, in the Obi-Wan show. Whereas Batman has so many badass comic runs, and he's got 3, 4 now, or at least 3 really good movie runs. I think we
And he
might have
didn't kill a bunch of kids. There's that too.
I,
Like, I'm just throwing it out there.
yeah, the child murdering aspect of Vader does technically make him more badass, but in
I
that
mean, like,
like
yeah.
badass that you deserve to die in the final fight kind of badass, as opposed to you're kind of the hero in the end.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm going with Batman. Let's see what the
For
chat.
the
What's the chat think? Let's have a vote.
for the sake of story, I think it's the right move. Anybody want to chime in on this one? Feel free. This is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Anybody, if you want to chime in. But I think, man, Nick, I think you nailed this one. I think it's the right call for the sake of story. I think we should have the bats up there as the champion of the battle of the badasses, or the brawl of the badasses.
And then, of course, what happens is there is a secret final boss battle against the DLC
That's
character Sledge, and Sledge just absolutely beats the fuck out of Batman.
right.
He uses him as a human shield. Um, right, and just absolutely obliterates Batman at final. But for the tournament, I'm stoked with how
I
it
mean,
turned
obviously,
out.
I didn't want to put Sledge in here because I know where it was all going. I like Batman via giant magnetic trash compactor ambush. Yeah, like there's a lot of ways
I like
to
the dismantling of the suit, right? So he was clever enough. He figured out how everything worked because he's
right,
Batman, right? So he figured out how all of the stuff and then he figured out like how whatever he did with Superman, where he figured out his weakness. Like, there's got to be like he found the writer that put in the term midi chlorians into the
right.
first and murdered him. So so now suddenly all of Vader's power is gone.
I freaking love it, man. The big shock for me was the John Wick. for sure out of this whole thing.
But Ash was awesome, man. He's just way more badass. Like, I just think you gotta take the Evil Dead franchise over,
Right.
the Wick franchise.
Sorry about Marv. My backups, I'll reveal these to you and see if this would change the calculations any. I had Brian Mills
Great one. One of my all-time favorite flicks.
for sure,
I might
and
have put him instead of, like, maybe Leonidas or something. It would have been a fun Brian Mills versus Bourne. Would that have been
right,
it?
yeah, that'd be a really good one.
That
And
really fun one.
I threw John Constantine in here as the Demon Slayer.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah,
I would have probably had a Conan in there, and then it would have just been nearly impossible for me to pick someone beating Conan.
right.
Conan versus Batman, I would have had to have Conan win, and then Conan versus Vader would have been so awesome as a
Uh,
final.
yep, there you go. So thank you everybody for hanging out with us during the Brawl of the Badasses. Nick, thank you for that was super fun, man. I really appreciate it. And
Yeah.
like I said, it's good to get to know you through all of these choices. It says a lot about you, definitely. And certainly through our entire conversation. Um, so just to kind of circle back on all this stuff, what I'm going to do before we close out is I just want to give you another 30 seconds, just kind of like wrap that up. Remember, this content is always evergreen. People come and they go, and they're going to be looking you up, and they're going to be finding this kind of stuff, and possibly sending you messages about how they disagree with your picks. That's okay. So just one more time, where can we find you and all that kind of stuff? Go for it.
Well, to the culmination of the Battle of the Badasses, what I have been trying to do and have feel like I've done rather successfully in the indie universe is create the ultimate badass that would have taken out Sledge. So if you want, or would have taken out Batman. So if you want to read the first ever exploit of the ultimate badass, pick up Sledge versus the Labyrinth anywhere you buy books, and check out the Sledge verse on sledgeversusbooks.com.
Love it. All right, man. And let's leave on a positive note for some people. There are a lot of authors out there. They're trying to find their way. They're trying to find their authenticity, their voice, and on all of those things. You have been through the fire, both as an athlete and as an author. What do we say to them? The ones that are out there, they're struggling. Perhaps they're feeling like they're not good enough. They're finding all of those challenges, be it imposter syndrome or anything else. What words do you have for that person that's out there and they're struggling to find their way?
I'd say to them the same thing I say to myself every day. Embrace the grind. The grind is the goal. So if you've put your time in to your book today, even if that was just pounding your head against a brick wall, right? Go have a beer because you've gotten into the pit and you've put in the work for today. And that is all that you can do. All right.
Yep.
At the end of the day, that is what you have control of. So embrace the grind, get into the pit, and just keep battling.
Love it, man. And once again, just thank you for being here and spending the time with me. I really appreciate it. And everybody in the chat appreciate that as well. Remember, if you're out there and you're thinking, oh man, this would be so cool to be on a stream like this, I platform anyone. So like, I'm always down to talk creativity with people and would love to have you on for a conversation. So please keep that in mind, subscribe to the channel and all that kind of stuff. We're trying to make this grow, man. I'm trying to do something different. I'm trying to make sure that my fellow authors out there are struggling less and being seen more. I think it's really important for all of us, and it helps us all out too. We're not competitors, man. We're all in this together. So more readers is better for everybody.
Dude, absolutely awesome what you're doing, man. You're highlighting the creator, and I just wish you all the success in the world. This was the most fun and the most badass thing currently on the internet is going to be the replay of this video. So awesome, man.
Listen, I appreciate it, man. And when there's more Sledge news, right, let's have you back on. Would love to dig in again and have more of a conversation. There was so much we could talk about. So I'd be happy to have you back on anytime, and we'll be in touch on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, obviously.
pipeline, man. It's all coming. So we'll do it again soon. Can't wait.
Perfect. Love it. So let me go ahead and close this out. Hang out for just a moment, Nick, and I'll see you in the green room for just a minute afterwards. Okay. So here we go. Let me throw on some music. Folks, thank you for tuning in and spending some time with us tonight. Special thanks to Nick for being a great sport and a wonderful guest. Highly encourage you to check out all of his work. Get into the Sledge universe, people. Links to all the things are in the description of the video on YouTube. And if you would be interested in being part of the MIRTHquake community and a guest on the show, it is very easy. Head over to mirthquake.show for all the details. Hopefully soon, we'll be prying open your brain and throwing it on the internet for everyone to see. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much. This is beyond awesome. Super useful for those of us here to learn. I appreciate that, Tim. So in the name of everything and our champion Batman, thanks everybody, and I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night. Yep.